My name is Harper Lane, and I was 29 years old. My father slapped a stapled invoice onto the dinner table like he was serving a court order instead of meatloaf. You owe this family $15,000 in back rent, he said, tapping the page with 2 fingers. You're paying every cent, or you're out. My mother, Lillian, lifted her wine glass and added, We're charging interest now. 13% a month. Like a real landlord. My sister Kayla laughed so hard she nearly dropped her phone. Harper's credit score is about to go negative, she said, already typing like she could not wait to tell somebody. Then my father slid over a second sheet. A payment plan, with neat columns. Due dates. Penalties. First, $1,500 is due Saturday, he said. If you miss it, we sell your car. My Uncle Dean, who always materialized when humiliation was on the menu, nodded like a preacher delivering judgment. Tough love is the only thing freeloaders understand. I stared at the invoice and noticed something strange. In tiny print at the bottom was a timestamp from a local print shop. The document had been printed almost 2 weeks earlier, before I had even moved my boxes back into that house. They had not reacted to me coming home. They had planned this. They set the table, invited my uncle, rehearsed the lines, and waited for me to sit down so they could turn family dinner into an ambush. I did not scream. That was the part that bothered them most. I placed my fork down, folded the invoice once, and looked around the table long enough to memorize every face. Frank looked pleased, like he had finally found a way to put a price tag on obedience. Lillian wore that cold expression she always used when she wanted cruelty to sound practical. Kayla had her phone angled toward me, pretending to check messages while secretly recording my reaction. You made a spreadsheet for your own daughter? I asked. No, my father said. I made a spreadsheet for an adult who thinks she can drift in and out of this house whenever life gets hard. Rent, utilities, inconvenience fee, late adjustment, emotional strain, surcharge. He had literally invented charges just to make the number reach 15,000. Emotional strain, I repeated. My mother leaned forward. Do you know what stress you've caused this family over the years? Kayla snorted. Honestly, she should be grateful Dad didn't bill her by the month. Then Kayla tilted her screen just enough for me to see her private story caption. Freeloader moved back home. Lol. That should have hurt less than it did. But there is something rotten about watching your own sister turn your worst moment into content. I stood up and took the invoice with me. Sit down, my father barked. We're not done. No, I said. You are. Upstairs. I went into the bedroom that used to be mine. Most of my old things were gone. My bookshelf was moved out. My framed debate photo was missing. And on the family portrait in the hallway, someone had drawn a red mark through my face with dry erase marker. Not permanent, but deliberate. Temporary cruelty is still cruelty. That red mark hit me with a memory so hard I almost sat down. When I was 16, my father's contracting business nearly collapsed after he underbid 2 jobs and got sued over defective materials. My parents were weeks from missing the mortgage. I sold my laptop, the one I needed for school, and the camera I saved for 2 summers to buy. I told my friends it had been stolen. I handed the money to my mother in a grocery store parking lot so Dad would not feel humiliated. Years later, whenever they talked about sacrifice, they spoke like only parents knew how to bleed for a family. They never once mentioned the kid who gave up her future tools so the lights would stay on. And now those same people were charging me 13% monthly interest like I was some deadbeat stranger. When I came back downstairs with my duffel bag, my father blocked the front door. Where do you think you're going? Out, I said, until you decide whether you want a daughter or a tenant. My mother folded her arms. If you leave tonight, don't expect to come back and pretend nothing happened. That almost made me laugh. They had printed my humiliation in advance. The pretending had all been theirs. Kayla leaned against the wall and said, You're being dramatic. Everybody pays rent. Then you first, I said. Show me your invoices. Her smile disappeared. She looked at our parents, and in that tiny flicker of panic I learned everything. This was not about fairness. It was about me. Only me. I walked out without another word. I slept in my car the first night in a grocery store parking lot, then booked a week at an extended stay hotel using points I saved for a vacation I never took. By morning, I blocked all of them except emergency calls. By afternoon, I called the one person who knew the version of me that existed before my family started rewriting me. Talia Reed met me at a 24-hour diner off the interstate. Sticky menus. Burnt coffee. Privacy bought by exhaustion. I told her everything. The invoice. The timestamp. Kyla's post. The red mark through my face. Talia did not interrupt. She just listened. Eyes narrowing the way they do when she knows I am understating how bad it really was. They didn't snap, she said when I finished. They staged it. I know, I said, and they chose the number before you even sat down. I know. Talia leaned back, then stopped treating this like a family misunderstanding. It's a premeditated power play. Talia worked in compliance for a regional credit union. Unlike me, she never softened ugly facts. You want my honest opinion? She asked. Yes. Don't argue feelings with people who only respect leverage. Start writing down every lie. So I did. The laptop I sold at 16. The money I sent 4 years earlier to cover delinquent property taxes. The emergency furnace replacement I put on my own card when my mom called crying and swore they would pay me after the new year. The new year had come and gone 3 times. I was not the burden in that house. I was the invisible reserve tank they drained whenever their pride was about to run empty. Talia watched me write, then asked, "How much do they actually owe you?" I totaled what I could prove. Just over $18,000. More if I counted interest. Talia raised an eyebrow. Funny number. Yeah, I said. Bitter. She leaned in. Here's what you do. Don't rush back in to defend yourself. Let them believe you're wounded. People who enjoy control get careless when they think they've already won. On the 6th day after I left, I gathered screenshots, bank statements, old texts, and transfer confirmations. One image mattered most. A transfer of $8,400 to my mother with the memo line. Property taxes. Pay today. Her reply was right there. We will never forget this. Don't tell your father yet. Sunday came, and the first message arrived. Not from my parents. From Kayla. You seriously still sulking? Dad says first payment is past due. Payment past due. To people who owed me more than the invoice they invented. I did not answer her. Instead, I texted my father one line. Tomorrow, 7 in the evening, kitchen. Have everybody there. He replied in less than a minute. Good. Bring your first payment. Talia read it and said, Perfect. They still think they're running the meeting. The next night, I walked into that house wearing my work clothes. Navy slacks. White blouse. Badge clipped at my waist. Because I wanted them to see exactly what they had called worthless. My father sat at the head of the table. My mother beside him. Kayla across from me with that bored expression people wear when they think someone else is about to apologize. Uncle Dean was there again. Because no ambush is complete without an audience. My father extended his hand. Envelope? I set down a folder instead. His brow creased. What is this? Documentation, I said. For the next 10 minutes, nobody spoke except me. I laid out transfer receipts, dates, invoices, and messages, property tax payment, furnace charge, utility catch-up transfers, a copy of the check I gave my mother after I liquidated a small investment account to help keep their mortgage current during a slowdown. Then I placed the final page in the center of the table, my spreadsheet listing every dollar I had contributed to that household over the years. Grand total, $18,240. My mother went pale. My father tried anger first. This is manipulative. No, I said. Manipulative was printing a fake debt before I even moved back in. His eyes dropped to the corner of his own invoice where the print shop timestamp still sat like a confession. Kayla stopped smiling. Uncle Dean suddenly found the salt shaker fascinating. You want rent, I said. Fine. Let's talk numbers. But before you collect $1 from me, I want a signed statement, acknowledging that I have repeatedly bailed this household out financially while being publicly treated like a burden." My mother finally found her voice. "You can't force your parents to sign something like that." "No," I said calmly, "but I can force reality into the room." I slid 2 typed copies across the table. Talia helped draft them. Nothing dramatic. Just facts. Dates. Amounts. Acknowledgement of prior financial assistance. An acknowledgement that the $15,000 rent claim had no lease basis and no prior written agreement. My father laughed, but it sounded thin. "You think you're going to embarrass us with paperwork?" "No," I said. "I'm done being the only one expected to swallow embarrassment quietly." Kayla muttered, "This is insane." I looked at her. "You posted about me. Go ahead. Post this too." Silence fell heavy. After a long minute, my mother signed first. Shame makes some people softer. In her case, it just made her shaky. My father signed because he thought signing would end the humiliation faster. It did not. I took the pages, placed them back in my folder, and stood up. Uncle Dean asked, almost politely, "So what now?" I looked at all of them. "Now you live with what you tried to do." If your parents tried to invoice your love back to you like a debt, would you stay quiet to keep the peace? Or would you finally put the receipts on the table? Comment, quieter receipts. I was halfway to the door when my father said, "You're really going to walk out over paperwork?" I paused. "No, I'm walking out because you mistook access to me for ownership." If the story ended there, it would have been painful enough, but it did not. Exactly 1 week after my father demanded $15,000 in fake rent, my phone exploded at 1:30 in the morning. The first call came from Kayla. I ignored it. Then 3 more. Then a voicemail. Then a text. "Please answer. Mom found something in the mail and she's screaming." Minutes later, Uncle Dean texted too. "Your parents are at my house crying. Please just call them." For 1 insane second, I thought someone had died. I called Kayla back. She answered breathless. "Mom opened certified mail. There's a final default notice and some tax thing. Dad's freaking out. They're saying if they don't cure it fast, the house can go into accelerated foreclosure." I closed my eyes. "What tax thing?" "I don't know," she snapped. "Can you just come?" I drove to Uncle Dean's place because that is where they were. Apparently too rattled to sit in their own living room. When I walked in, my mother's mascara was streaked. My father looked 10 years older. Uncle Dean had lost every ounce of smug certainty he brought to dinner. The certified mail lay open on the coffee table. Final notice. Mortgage delinquency. Failure to cure. County notice tied to missed escrow adjustment. I felt my stomach go cold. Not because I pitied them, but because I understood instantly. During all their grandstanding about teaching me responsibility, they had been hiding a financial collapse that was already underway. And they still tried to shake me down for $15,000. My father stood. "We need your help." I stared at him. "You mean the freeloader?" My mother started crying harder. "Harper, please." Uncle Dean tried diplomacy. "Your daddy made mistakes. All of you made mistakes," I said. "Some of you delivered them as entertainment." Then my mother said the line that proved they learned nothing. "We were trying to push you to be responsible because we knew things were bad. So you were extorting me as a teaching tool," I said. Nobody answered. My father lowered his voice. "Tell us what to do." I took a breath and chose precision. "I will look at the documents," I said, "but do not confuse access with forgiveness." I spread the papers on the table and started asking real questions. When was the last full mortgage payment? Had they skipped escrow? Did they borrow against anything? Did they miss county notices? My father lied twice in the first few minutes. I stopped him. "If you lie to me one more time, I walk." He swallowed and finally told the truth. The business had been bleeding cash. My mother dipped into savings and never replenished it. Then the detail that changed everything. They had nearly $20,000 in a separate account. Not to save the house, but to create a launch cushion for Kayla to move away. Money for the favorite child, not the mortgage. I looked at Kayla. Did you know? She did not answer fast enough. That was answer enough. If you found out your family had money saved for the favorite child while demanding cash from you, would you help anyway? Or walk away and let consequences hit? Comment, help, or walk? I stood up. Tomorrow, I will contact the lender and see whether there is any path to delay acceleration. You will give me every statement, every notice, every balance, and every truth. If I find out you hid anything else, I am done. They nodded too quickly. Fear makes compliance look almost like respect. The next week was ugly work. I called the lender. I organized timelines. I translated their mess into language the bank would take seriously. There was only one narrow path left. A revised reinstatement agreement with strict conditions. Miss one deadline and the file snapped back toward foreclosure. My father heard hope. I heard a final warning. On the drive home, my mother kept saying, "You saved us." I said, "No, I bought you time." Then my father did what he always did. He got offended at accountability. He mailed the wrong kind of payment. And late. Personal check. Not certified funds. The lender flagged it. The file triggered review. Review meant danger. Real danger. When the formal notice arrived, my father tried to blame me for not reminding him enough. I laughed. Because the audacity was almost artistic. So the daughter you tried to extort should have mothered you harder. I said. They still did not get it. They still thought my competence meant endless rescue. That was when I stopped. Not with rage. With clarity. I moved the rest of my things out for good. I left them the paperwork. The deadlines. And the consequences they had been so comfortable feeding me. A month later, I watched a sheriff's notice get fixed to the front door of the house where I grew up. Strange how consequences that destroy a family can arrive on a single sheet. Afterward, my parents told relatives I abandoned them during an emergency. So I did one final thing. Calm and surgical. I posted 3 items in a private community group. The fake invoice with the print shop timestamp. The signed acknowledgement of what I had paid into that household. And short audio clips from the dinner where they admitted the invoice was false and the pressure campaign was intentional. I wrote one sentence above it. I am sharing this because I will not carry a false story for people who built one out of me. That was enough. The truth moved on its own. If you want more real stories like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next one will hit even harder.